So growing up, I wanted to be just like my two older sisters. I wanted to do everything they could do. I wanted to ice skate, I wanted to ride a bike, but most of all, I wanted to read. I thought reading was the most magical thing. In my family, reading was really a big deal. My father would read 3 or 4 books at a time. My mother wasn't so much into books, but she read 4 newspapers every day from front to back. She knew every wedding, every car accident, every arrest in all of Northwest Indiana. Reading seemed like such a grown-up thing to do, and I really wanted to be a grown-up. So when I went to kindergarten, this was a time when reading was really not part of the kindergarten curriculum. Our days consisted mostly of eating paste and eating those Salerno butter cookies that you could put on your fingers, right? And then thrilling games of duck, duck, goose. So that was kindergarten for me, but our teacher did have labels on everything in the room. So there was table on the table, chair on the chair, desk on the desk. And at some point, we were getting ready for first grade, and I was talking to her about how excited I was to go to first grade because I was finally going to learn how to read. Because my sister said, that's first grade is when you learn how to read. She said, but Chris, you already know how to read. She says, what does this say? And she pointed to the desk. And I said, well, desk. She pointed to the sign on the table. And I said, well, that says table. And she says, well, that's reading. And I'm like, what? I mean, like, that's it? That's all that reading is? I mean, I was expecting some, like, 5-year-old equivalent of orgasm, right? Like the earth shaking and bolts of lightning and stuff. And I thought, like, this is kind of a letdown. So I thought there would be more to it. So I got to first grade, and I was really excited to get my first reader, my little red storybook. Now, our school was a Tom and Susan school, not a Dick and Jane school. So my first starring character, of course, was Tom. Susan doesn't get to show up for a couple stories. That's a whole nother issue, right? But Tom and his little red wagon. See Tom ride, ride Tom ride. Wow, I was ready. I was off and running. I went through my red storybook, my blue storybook, my yellow storybook, my green storybook, my purple storybook, until I got the hardback, My Little White House. And I was in heaven, a hardback reader. And I was ready to sit down and read that thing from beginning to end. But not everybody in our class was quite as enthusiastic readers. There was Sally Pugh. And Sally grew up lived on literally the wrong side of the tracks in our little town. And Sally came to school in old clothes and kind of a dirty face and a runny nose. And she had these 2 little blonde pigtails. And Sally was struggling. So the teacher thought she can solve 2 problems at once. I was reading too fast. Sally was reading too slow. We'd put us together out in the hallway, and I would listen to Sally read. So I sat in the hallway while Sally read through her words. And I don't remember if we were reading a story or a list of words, but at some point she made a mistake. And I reached over and I tugged on that pigtail as hard as I could. I don't know if I did it once or 2 or 3 times, but it was enough that when the teacher came out and saw tears in Sally's eyes, she sent us back into the classroom and back to our seats. Sally stayed in our school for a couple more years. I don't know that she ever really became a good reader while I knew her, and then she moved away. But I really think now, I wish I could go back and tell Sally that I was sorry. I don't know what made me do that. I don't know if I thought reading was just something she didn't deserve to know, or if I thought that I was just smarter than her and wanted to show her I was better. Maybe I was just a mean kid. But I really hope that sometime down the road, Sally found a teacher who was more patient, more kind, more understanding, and that at some point she was able to get that key and find the magic of reading for herself. Thank you.